achieveeradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/achieveradio.
Welcome, everybody, to Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com, whether you're listening live through our radio station, if you're watching us on YouTube, whether you've downloaded the podcast, whatever your terms and conditions are for your being with us in this moment. We're glad you're here, glad you're listening, and glad you're participating in your health, vitality, and well-being. And in today's world where people are getting run over at every turn, left, right, and willy-nilly, such confusion abounds. What is the right way to go? And yet there is a core group of people on this planet who are standing up and saying, I will educate myself, I will find out for myself, I will make good choices for myself, and I will take responsibility for my health. And those are the people that inspire us. Those are the people that seem to work the best with our content with Dr. Dean, who is a champion of the individual taking responsibility for their health, knowing what feels good in their body, knowing what's going on in their mind, and looking for safe solutions and alternatives to drugs and surgeries, which always have side effects, Ladies and gentlemen, if this is the first time you've joined us this evening, then you will be listening to, for the very first time, maybe unless you heard her on another broadcast or a summit or maybe a YouTube, you'll be listening to Dr. Carolyn Dean. And I'll tell you, she is somebody definitely that you'll want to be listening for and to. Dr. Dean is not only a medical doctor, which is an accomplishment in and itself, but she's also a naturopath, an herbalist, an acupuncturist, a nutritionist, a lecturer. She's an advocate. She is a brilliant businesswoman and the CEO of her own corporation. She is a fighter. She is tenacious, ladies and gentlemen. She is out on the leading edge of creation, taking a stand for your health, and has been for years and years and years, and paid the prices for it and never looked back, whether it was confronting the sugar industry in Canada, whether it's been dealing with the health freedom movement and advocating in that way, whether it's educating herself about the things that affect your health right now. She's always on top of things, always with her critical ear and all of her wisdom, listening and learning and looking out for those who come to her and ask her for that sage advice. I will also let you know that she's also on the board of directors of the nonprofit Nutritional Magnesium Association. She is an expert in magnesium, its function and role in the body, and also on supplementation, having written many books, including The Magnesium Miracle, now in its third edition. We're so happy that she's here with us this evening and brings us all of her wisdom once again to the forefront. Welcome, Dr. Carolyn Dean. Oh, where'd they go? Hello? 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 She still must be plugging in her headset or something. Can you hear me, Carolyn? Oh, dear. Let's see. Carolyn, can you hear me? Okay, well, I know she's here, and for some reason...
Hey, Carol, Ginny.
Yes,
Carolyn can't be heard by you for some reason. I don't know what it is.
Oh,
she's trying to get there.
Okay, very good. Very good. Well, I will say...
she's on a different number. You got another number there?
Okay, let's try that one. I see all kinds of numbers, but none of them are yours, and I know what you're talking about.
Okay, I'll give her my phone. Just a second.
Oh, okay. Let me just say hello to Super Dougie Nancy and all of our regular listeners. Thank you for participating, for working with us every week, not working, but being with us, and also for being on the chat line, because your encouragement is always very beneficial to all the people who are tuning in for the first time. They like to know there's a robust community of people who are equally committed and educated about natural health and are wanting to make similar choices and getting great results. So thank you for participating. Carolyn, are you there?
Check the mute when you put it in.
There you are.
There I am. Yeah,
Yes.
we're having a bit of phone battery problems, so we went in on two different phones, and I don't know, somehow you're just picking up one of our phones. But anyway, here I am. Yes, I literally cannot speak unless you press the yay button, so that's what threw everything off. And I'm not going to say any more because we have so much to talk about today. I've got a whole number of things lined up, and I'm going to launch right into the blog that you sent out, Ginny, okay?
Wonderful.
Yes, it's about adrenal fatigue and thyroid insufficiency. And when I was looking to see what I've said about that in the past, I don't even, Ginny, have we done a webinar we did a webinar on thyroid, didn't we?
We did a webinar on thyroid last year. Yes, we did. Mm-hmm.
So there's that in the archive. I don't know if we've done one specifically on adrenal. Certainly, we just did one on anxiety, which is one of the primo symptoms of the adrenals being affected by lack of minerals. But back in December 2013, I have a blog called Balancing Adrenals and Thyroid, and I put it out around the time when I put out the Remite book. The Remite book is now Remite and Recalcia, and in that book I have a section on adrenal fatigue and thyroid insufficiency, and I must have posted it somewhere, and someone responded to maybe it was an excerpt that someone put on their forum, it looks like. So this person said, and I put it in my December 2013 blog, Dr. Dean, thank you so much. In over 15 years of struggling with hypothyroid, adrenal fatigue, and fibromyalgia, and going to multiple doctors, I have never heard such a complete picture of how the thyroid, adrenals, and sex hormones work together and how to repair them. So that's 5 years ago. I mean, we've been talking about this for a long time. We will keep talking about it. We'll keep repeating it. I was going to say, if new things come up, we'll talk about them. But I've been looking at adrenals and thyroid for decades, and I think coming up with the replacement of minerals in their stabilized ionic form and working on yeast overgrowth, those are the two main things that are helping just about every chronic disease and symptom that you can come across. And, of course, the FDA doesn't want me to say that. They say that only drugs can treat disease. But what we're working on is mineral deficiencies that they kind of mimic diseases, but it's more like they're misdiagnosed as diseases. We know they're mineral deficiencies. A lot of people in natural medicine know they're mineral deficiencies, but medicine insists on calling them diseases and treating them with drugs. But we do know better. Now, this blog of Ginny's you'll see on the drcarolyndeanlive.com website. It's a monthly blog to announce our radio show. And it's fairly long. I'm just going to go to the highlights because you can read it, and people have already written in emails and said it's a great overview. And when I talk about adrenals and thyroid, I also talk about the sex hormones because it's a three-sided stool. When one of the legs of the stool is short, on blood testing, when cortisol from the adrenals, an indication of chronic stress. When cortisol levels go up, thyroid hormone levels go down. So when you're under a lot of stress and your doctor say, oh, look, your adrenal saliva tests show that your cortisol is up, let's give you all these supplements to try to bash it down. Well, what they should be doing is supporting the thyroid. However, big debate among natural medicine practitioners is, well, you shouldn't treat them both at the same time. You should treat one and then the other. But that's crazy. That's really not how the body works. You just support the whole body with your minerals and work on yeast overgrowth, and everything sort of perks up. I'm kind of intentionally making it sound simple because a lot of people get freaked out because there's so much complexity on the internet about how to work with these systems. And in the natural medicine world, as the blog continues on, instead of giving minerals to support the thyroid, they'll give a natural form of thyroid replacement therapy. Instead of synthetic drugs, they say, oh, we're much better because we're giving natural. But they're still just replacing hormones instead of supporting the creation of your own hormones, which makes much more sense. And we continue on, yes, about the yeast, and the reason why the yeast is a problem with hormones is as I found out when I was doing certain antibody testing in my practice, working with an immunologist with an expertise in yeast overgrowth and all the 178 different toxins, he found that a lot of yeast toxins cross-react with adrenals, thyroid, and sex hormone receptor sites and jam them up and make either high or low hormone levels, because the whole hormone system is mimicked by these yeast antibodies. It's like fake hormones. They'll create fake hormones, or they'll jam receptor sites so you don't have any hormone function. It sounds a little bit complex the way I'm trying to say it very briefly here, but go to drcarolyndeanlive.com under books and pick up the Remite Recalcia book. There's no charge. And on about now the treatment with diet, basically it's a yeast-free diet to get rid of all these yeast antibodies. Of course, it's replenishing your drinking water, adding the sea salt to get those minerals, putting in the Remite. In Remite, there are 12 minerals. 9 of those minerals are required by the thyroid to make thyroid hormones. It's not just iodine. You can't give yourself high doses of one of those minerals and expect any good outcome, because when you force iodine into the body, then you force systems in the thyroid to create the next step of the biochemical reaction that requires iodine. So you're forcing this next step. That next step requires selenium. If you don't have enough selenium, everything just kind of either grinds to a halt or speeds up in another direction. So it's a matter of getting sufficient amounts of all the 9 minerals in order to make your own thyroid hormones. And then the blog goes on to talk about lying down therapy, how so many women, they're just so active and so multitasking, and there's so much demanded of them that women tend to tough it out or muscle your way through adrenal fatigue, which is the worst thing you can do. You really need your sleep and your naps. So extra sleep, rest, sea salt, high-dose magnesium, they all work to help relieve adrenal fatigue. And also, I think it should be here, the Realign comes in. It's very important to have the B vitamin complex. The methylated Bs are very important, not just for the adrenals, but for liver detoxification. When you look at what happens with the body and the B vitamins, if you go into something like the Krebs cycle, you find that many of the processes of the Krebs cycle, 6 or of the 8 of them require magnesium, but several of them require the B vitamins, and that's not talked about in medicine because they're looking for drug solutions. So that's the basics of the blog. I'm going to pull Ginny back in to ask her if I've left anything out, because it's a long blog. I didn't want to read it all out. You're all quite capable of reading it, but just to make sure I put everything necessary in there before we go to the questions. And we have a lot of good questions as well. Okay, Ginny, anything else you want me to cover?
Just the whole thing about how people would wean off if they were on thyroid or something like that. Let's say they undertake the protocol. What is the timing of that? You know, is it 3 months, 6 months, you know, that kind of thing? What's a realistic turnaround time?
Okay, well, you know how individual everybody is. We have people who've been on synthetic thyroid replacement for 10, 20, 30 years. I don't know how long I was on my Armour thyroid, several years, and I really didn't think much of it. I was sort of testing out the Remite before introducing it, and it was 6 to 8 months before I just kind of out of the blue. I wasn't thinking this was going to happen. I didn't plan it to happen. Out of the blue, I sort of felt a little speedy. My pulse was a little up. I was a little warmer, and I diagnosed myself with, I've got too much thyroid hormone going on here. And instead of weaning off, I just stopped my Armour thyroid. I was kind of taking it as a preventative anyway. And it did not stop my cold hands and feet. It wasn't until I took the Remite that I got rid of my cold hands and feet. So I was 6 to 8 weeks. And we can't tell people, take the Remite to get off your drugs. The FDA doesn't like that either. But what will happen, and what seems to be happening to our customers, is that after a period of 2, 3, 4, 5, even 6 months, if they feel their selves getting a little activated and their thyroid seems to be working better just by the way their body feels, they'll go and get blood testing and find that their TSH is lower. The thyroid-stimulating hormone doesn't have to be pushing their thyroid as hard because they're making thyroid hormones. So it's a matter of watching your body, seeing if, in some cases, the hair stops falling out and the cold hands and feet go away and they feel more energy. And then looking at the blood testing, if your doctor won't do it, requestatest.com can do it. I'm not telling people to be their own doctors. I'm not allowed to do that either, but you just have to follow yourself. So many people would rather not be on drugs for life. And but we've never said that Remite is your substitute. We just of a drug. We're just saying that if your body has its own minerals, it can make its own hormones, and you shouldn't have to be taking a drug if your body's working fine. So there.
Outstanding. Wonderful, wonderful answer. Thank you.
So will I go to the questions now from the mailbag?
I believe so. Let me just tell everybody that if you are listening this evening and you wanted to talk to Dr. Dean, the number is 602-666-6027. and then you've got to hit *5 on your keypad. *5 will raise your hand in the studio and let me know you have a question or comment, and then I'll be able to put you on the line with Dr. Dean. If you don't hit *5, I can't tell you're here, and then I don't know to unmute your phone. So no callers at this moment, so yes, I say let's press on.
Okay, woman saying, I'm taking 1/4 teaspoon of Remite, 1/4 teaspoon of Remag twice a day. If my blood work shows my adrenals are low and I need a grain of nature's thyroid, it's a type of desiccated thyroid, how much Remite and Remag should I take? I want to stop taking nature's thyroid eventually. Well, the how much on our labels, we're only allowed to give the kind of the RDA of Remag and Remite. We're not allowed to give therapeutic doses, but 1/4 teaspoon is very low. 1/4 of Remag is only 75 milligrams. Personally, I was taking 4 teaspoons of Remag for my heart palpitations. In terms of what the average we see with our customers, it can go to 2 or 3 teaspoons a day in the beginning as your body stores the minerals, puts them into storage for times when you're under massive stress. Occasionally we'll have someone complain that, well, your label only says to take 1 teaspoon a day, you're not telling me. But again, that's all we can say on the label. But if people have had magnesium and mineral deficiency for decades, it's going to take a little work. You have to build up your stores. So there's no one dose I can give everyone. This is not a drug where we dose people. This is where a person takes into account how they're feeling, what's their magnesium burn, how many drugs are they on, have they been on, do they have yeast overgrowth, and the dosage of Remite is 3/4 of a teaspoon twice a day. I do tell people if you go up to 4 teaspoons of Remag, take 2 teaspoons of Remite to balance things out. I know it sounds a little bit complicated, but what you do is just slowly build up, as we say on our guidelines. You do 1/4 teaspoon for a few days, add another 1/4 teaspoon, and build it up to where your body's starting to feel better, and where you give yourself maybe a little extra 1/4 teaspoon to build up your stores. Next question, when I get my blood test, will it show I have too much thyroid and I can stop taking it? She probably means the nature's thyroid. The blood test, I mentioned the TSH. You follow the TSH. When that drops, then you're producing more hormones, and you can work with your doctor on weaning your thyroid. Should I be taking Realign for adrenal? Yes, because of the B vitamins, as I said. Next question, are night sweats and hair loss a sign my thyroid needs more or less? Hair loss is a sign that the thyroid needs to be supported more, and we support it with the Remag and Remite. We have had people who've just been on the Remag for a while and say that their thyroid perks up. Night sweats are more the sex hormones, and they perk up too with the minerals. Lastly, does all this affect vitiligo? Vitiligo is that skin condition where it turns pale. I think we've had people with vitiligo. I'll put Ginny in a second to answer that, where they put Renew on their vitiligo areas. Is that true, Ginny?
Yes, and it works sometimes and sometimes it doesn't. It just, it's so individual. But sometimes it does work. Yep, absolutely.
Because vitiligo, let me just look it up. They say it's an autoimmune condition. And I say any autoimmune condition, you start by looking at yeast overgrowth. Okay, so vitiligo is caused by loss of pigment of melanin in the skin due to the destruction of pigment-forming cells known as melanocytes. Now, the destruction of cells, like what I was mentioning about yeast toxins, is that they cross-react in the body with other body parts and tissues and all, where they attack. So whatever's attacking these melanocytes can be because of them, the immune system attacking yeast toxins, and then the melanocytes are like collateral damage. And that's how we look at thyroiditis, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and all the various autoimmune disease. How much of it is the yeast toxins getting in the way of tissues and the tissues being attacked? So great questions. I was just one person with those questions. Next question, since menopause 10 years ago, my thyroid and maybe adrenals, too, don't seem to be working correctly. Exactly. My symptoms are below normal weight, cold hands, low basal temperature, thinning hair. From my understanding, I thought I had low thyroid or hypothyroidism. Now here comes a sidebar in this whole conversation, because this woman says, however, an energy worker who was reading my pulses for several sessions last week told me I had hyperthyroidism because my metabolism is too sped up, which is causing me to burn calories too quickly and lose weight. So I don't know anything about that. I don't know if except for extreme hyperthyroidism, the treatment is really getting your minerals in balance and dealing with your yeast. This woman says she's taken bioidentical hormones for 6 months. It did not seem to make any improvement. Used nature's thyroid for about 2 years, no improvement. Now taking standard processed thyroid, no improvement. And then she gives her blood levels. This is very detailed, and it's almost medical, but it's good just for me to explain a little bit of this. All her thyroid hormones are normal. TSH may be a little bit, tiny bit elevated, which means that her pituitary is pushing her thyroid to make more hormones. So this is where you take the minerals. This is where you take the minerals and realign, support your thyroid and your adrenals and your sex hormones. Her thyroid antibodies were low, so she does not have Hashimoto's. And so she said, my question is whether I have hypo or hyperthyroidism. Medically, I can't say that. I just know that some people bounce a little bit between each. Been taking Remag and Remite for a few months. She doesn't say how much, so we'd want to make sure she has saturation doses of 2 and 3 teaspoons of Remag and 1.5 to 2 teaspoons of Remite. Also taking Realign and Blue Ice Royal. And she says, my understanding of some of this thyroid problem was clearer when I read your blog just now, that cortisol causes thyroid imbalance. I've been under a lot of stress from family health and emotional problems for the last 10 years. So yeah, that can be so incredibly stressful. So what do we say? Just keep going on. Make sure you have saturation doses of the minerals. Keep reading. Keep listening to the radio show. Ask these good questions, and get it really solidified in your mind what you're doing, what your body requires, what makes sense. And when you hear someone say, "Well, I tried all these the hormone replacements, bioidentical," estrogen, progesterone, I assume, the thyroid, and 2 types of thyroid, and that didn't work. Well, yeah, you have to give the building blocks. Next question, my only issue is sleep. Nothing has helped. Main issues, I get up 2 and 3 times a night to go to the bathroom. I can't go back to sleep. Now, going to the bathroom, what we want people to do with that sort of history is be taking their sea salted water during the day. Sea salt and taking your Remag and Remite brings your minerals into the cells, pulls water in after them, so the water isn't just sloshing around in your extracellular tissue. And then when you lie down, the water just gravitates to your bladder. So the sea salt is the first thing. And then, Ginny, I wanted to bring, and take enough Remag, take an extra dose of Remag at night. But, Ginny, what say we do a webinar sometime on insomnia and sleep?
Oh, I think that sounds fantastic because so many people struggle with sleeplessness. Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
And one of the sets of gifts we give when we do webinars, usually several of my modules, and one of the, quote, pillars, one of the 7 pillars of my modules is about sleep and all the things you can do. Okay, so we'll set that up in the next several months. And someone with a question, I have an underactive thyroid. Reading, I guess the internet said that an adrenal fatigue diet is good. Can you send that diet? Well, an adrenal fatigue diet, look at the Remite Calcia book. Basically, it's a yeast detox diet. And then the treatment, I don't know if this person is already on the Remag, Remite, and Realign. So that's our mailbag. Now, Ginny, I have an awesome testimonial and teaching story, but I'll stop now and see if you want to do some chat and some phone calls before we take a break from those and do this teaching story.
Yes, let's do some phone calls, and everybody on the chat is just gushing with love for you, so that's boring. No, I'm just kidding. Everybody on the chat, seriously, though, just thank you so much for taking such good care and giving so much education to all of us, and Nancy saying greetings to everyone. Always happy to be tuned in to your good things, and, of course, Super Dougie there, and sending out wishes to all the moms. So, yes, let's take a few phone calls, 602-666-6027, and we've got some raised hands. So we'll go in the order of that the hands were raised, which means we're going to the great state of North Carolina, area code 336. You're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Yes, my name is Valerie. And so
go ahead.
My question is, I just discovered Remag and am almost finished with my first bottle, but I did quickly quit taking my thyroid Armour medicine when I started Remag pretty much at the same time, and I've been on it probably for 7 or 8 years. So I've been pretty exhausted the last 3 weeks. So just wondering.
Yeah.
And I do have kind of a stressful life, but.
Right. I guess you didn't hear us when we said never stop your medications when you start our products. It's a bad, it's like an experiment gone bad already. Because I don't know where you're at. I don't know if it's not enough Remag or stopping your Armour and needing that. If you're working on thyroid, you have to be looking at your Remite, even a little more than Remag. So I don't know what to say. What do you think you should do, Valerie?
Well, I don't want to go back on the medicine now because I've been off for 3 weeks.
Right.
So, but I also feel like my even trying to walk this weekend a little bit. I mean, it was pretty hot in North Carolina, but just the exhaustion is back to where it was when I was anemic. I have Lyme disease and underactive thyroid, and hormone issues and was on some replacement hormones, and I stopped those too 3 or 4 weeks ago. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I jumped in with both feet, and I'm doing lots of green drinks and kelp powder. I'm doing lots of things like that. But I'm pretty exhausted.
Yeah, I mean, you've even with the kelp powder, that's really pushing your iodine. I don't know what to say. How old are you, Valerie?
46.
Right, you're too young for all this. But, yeah, with the Lyme and all the rest of it.
Well, and my doctor had told me, one more thing, I'm sorry. My doctor had told me that based on blood tests that I am in menopause, that I started, I don't know if you say maca or maca supplement in January, and I've had a cycle every month since then. So that's another reason why I stopped the hormone replacement.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, maca is a precursor to the hormones. What I would do, because you don't have to be exhausted if you're, I don't know how long you've been looking at doing the remag. Has it just been a month or so or a couple months?
Yeah, I'm finishing up a 16-ounce bottle, and I take 2 capfuls a day. I take one in the morning and one at night. So I'm not sure teaspoon-wise how that averages out, but I am taking quite a bit. That's just 2 teaspoons a day. It's 600 milligrams.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. We got to take you in hand, Valerie, because you've done a lot of not so good things for your body, because you're rushing the whole process, so that you're putting your body in a kind of a withdrawal plus irritation, because you haven't weaned off properly, you haven't weaned on properly. You need the Remite for your thyroid hormones. So have you read my Remite Recalcia booklet?
I haven't. I'm working with someone, I won't name the name, but I'm working with a health coach, and this was kind of based on their recommendations. Your Remag was, part of the protocol, and
right.
So
yeah, but we would never. We don't have. We have our customer service, and we don't have health coaches or endorse health coaches. But if someone supported you to go off your stuff before you had your grounding with your minerals, that's not good.
Right.
We got to think you've got all the time in the world. I know that sounds stupid and bizarre, but you've got to act like you've got all the time in the world. You don't have to rush this. You obviously had these things for a long time, and once intellectually you start reading some of my information and say, oh, that makes so much sense, then you have a supportive grounding in your own brain, instead of someone telling you, either me or a health coach, saying, oh, well, this is what you do. It's like, this is not what you do. You have to understand the process where the body, it's gotten used to your Armour, thyroid, and all the other things. Yeah, cutting back on your bioidenticals because maca has supported you. That sounds good. But taking kelp powder with an unknown amount of iodine, that's pushing too much iodine. If you heard I talked about earlier, you have to take all 9 minerals to support the thyroid.
Okay.
So you'll have to sort of backpedal a bit and even decide whether you go back on maybe half the amount of Armour. Personally, that's what I do. I'm not telling you what to do, but personally I would go back on half dose Armour just to keep my energy up, because you have to have energy, to make the good food you want to take and to, make your green drinks, for Pete's sakes. It's a lot of work.
Right.
And so get the Remite Recalcia book. All my books are at drcarolyndeanlive.com, and maybe listen to the archives. Just type in that same website, type in what you want to hear about, and just get your own brain and your own focus behind what's the best thing for you personally.
Okay.
Okay? And the thing about Lyme,
Thank you.
let me just jump on the Lyme for a second, Valerie. Did you have to take antibiotics for it?
I didn't. They probably have had it since I was a child, but I was just diagnosed last year. I have discharge from my nipples, and so they thought I had, and I still do after a year and a half, and still secreting from my nipples, but they thought I had a pituitary tumor, and didn't find one.
Yeah.
So then they found the Lyme through that. So because I was actually doing so well, even though I had the Lyme disease, they didn't put me on antibiotics. They put me on a ton of natural supplements.
Right. Okay, then, and what I've noted when I go through some of the recent books about Lyme is they all kind of say a bit about magnesium and how important it is, but they really don't use enough magnesium. And I really think they're missing the boat when they don't saturate people with magnesium. So if you haven't done antibiotics, that is good, because then you might not have the whole yeast overgrowth aspect. But I would say to really look at saturating yourself with the REMAG as something that's going to help so many of the so-called Lyme symptoms that people have, that they think are Lyme, and I think they're magnesium deficiency, as the body's grabbing as much magnesium as it can to detoxify and do all the things that you want to happen to cure Lyme. Okay?
Okay. So would you recommend like 3 teaspoons a day? Would that be enough, do you think, of the REMAG, or would you do even more than that?
Yeah. Well,
3?
I would go to 3. And and you want to space it out, and also you don't get laxative effects. So go up slowly to 3, and keep in touch with us, because we'll jump in there if we think that you're going too fast or whatever you're doing wrong. We'll figure it out with you. Okay?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Bye, Valerie.
Bye.
Okay, wonderful. Let's go to area code 646, the great state of New York. 646, you're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could state your name and then question or comment.
Hi, my name is Marion Grant. Can you hear me?
Yes, Marion, go ahead.
Yes, I just got my thyroid tested, and I would like to ask you about the numbers. I don't know if you remember me. I've called a couple of times, and I've been taking your products now for over a year, and I was surprised that my T3 free numbers were high. It says 4.3, and I'm just wondering what that means, because they were high last year, and I had to up my thyroid, my nature thyroid, and then it went down
Yeah. Well,
I'm sorry,
the free T3 4.3. What's the range?
2.0 to 4.4.
And then you said before it was low, and then if your T3 is high, okay, what else? I don't know yet what I'm...
I have had high cortisol levels when I was tested last...
No, what about the rest of the thyroid? What's your TSH?
Oh, the other numbers? Yeah, the T4 is normal, that's 6.7, and the T4 free is normal, that's 1.04. But I guess I'm concerned about the T3 free, because when I was high last June, it was recommended I go up on the thyroid, which I did, and then last fall when I got tested, it went back down to 0.282, so then it was pretty low. So now I'm really high again.
Well, if your thyroid hormone is high, why do you take more thyroid? If your thyroid hormone is high, wouldn't you need less thyroid? Are you?
No, the two doctors that I went to, one is a functional medicine and another is an alternative, they both said it's the thyroid stimulating hormone, the TSH. When the number gets high, they say you need more thyroid.
Well, you told me it was a free T3, not the TSH.
Well, I thought that was the same thing, actually. I thought that it's not?
No. Okay,
well, then,
so are you taking any Remag, Remite?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
How
I've
much?
been taking both of those for over a year, and at different times I've taken quite a lot, like up to 5 teaspoons a day of the Remag. But right now I'm taking 2 teaspoons of Remag, 1 teaspoon of Remite, and then I'm also taking some extra supplements of magnesium. So I think I have a pretty good dosage of the minerals.
Well, you don't if your TSH is going up. 1 teaspoon of Remite is below even just the basic amount. And what the body really wants is consistency. And it does get difficult, when a person isn't consistent for long enough for the body to sort of produce its own hormones. 1 teaspoon of Remite is personally it wouldn't, it's not enough for me when I first started. At this point in time, I'm on 1 teaspoon Remite and 1 teaspoon Remag, and I'm fine. But it's because I started out at 4 teaspoons and, yada, yada, yada. So, I mean, it's a matter, Marion, of understanding what you're doing. It's like what I'm doing is taking the minerals to support my body function, and if I'm not taking enough, then my hormones aren't going to work as well as I want them to. I don't know what else to look at. I mean, is there yeast overgrowth? Is there a lot of stress?
No, I don't have any now. I was tested on that.
Well, the testing doesn't even matter. I mean, this is the problem with testing is we don't, everybody has yeast. So you test for yeast and you get a level, and then there's this interpretation of, well, I guess you have the normal amount of antibodies and not too many. I depend on the yeast questionnaire to figure out about yeast. So basically what I'm going to leave you with is that 1 teaspoon of Remite is, in my opinion and for my body, would not build my thyroid hormones.
Okay. I mean, I had taken more over the year. I thought now I could go.
You had a test where your TSH was better before. So maybe look at your values and the timing of the test and say, oh, my goodness, when I was taking my 1.5 teaspoons of Remite, my TSH got better. Good. And then I lowered my Remite and my TSH is worse. Okay, now you have some information to work on. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
And keep us posted because, we can nip this in the bud a lot earlier without, I really like the fact that you're taking responsibility, you're doing your testing, you're trying to figure things out, but, we can also support you so you don't waste your time. And then, like you say, well, I was surprised that my TSH, which is not the free T3. I'm surprised that my TSH was worse. Well, it's worse because you're not taking enough minerals. These minerals do not come in our water. They're not in our food. They are something that we have to continually take. There's no two ways about it. It's very unfortunate, but unless we go out and do our own farming and put our own rock dust on the soil, we're not going to get those minerals.
Okay, so yeah, I'll up that and see how that works out.
Okay, yeah. And keep us posted, Mary, and I mean it. We want to hear from you, okay?
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Excellent, excellent. Marion's, so representative, Carolyn, of our customers who get excited, they get going, they have a little bit of success, then they kind of pull back, and then they don't keep, So very, very good, and Marion's going to be great. Okay, let's go to area code 303, Colorado. You're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Hi, guys. It's Michael in Boulder.
Oh, hi, Michael. Good to hear from you. What's up?
Yeah, good to be on the line with you guys. Ginny, thanks for the cheer last week. I really appreciated that.
You're welcome.
You got a yay. You got a yay. That's wonderful.
Yeah. So here's my question. I'm wondering, I know I called in a few weeks back and said I tried the recalciant. I seemed to be getting some symptoms, so I stopped. And I thought that was good listening to my body. But then I started really looking at my diet and doing some online searching for calcium quantities in foods. And I don't do dairy. And unfortunately, after I got my 5 mercury fillings out of my teeth back in 2000, it took a while to figure this out, but I found out that I was reacting to all the vegetables that are high in sulfur. So that throws out all those good dark green vegetables. And I even got a test that showed my plasma cysteine level was high, which cysteine is part of is high in those sulfur foods anyway. And when I take them, I eat a serving of asparagus and I get diarrhea. I eat some eggs, I get diarrhea. So, and, I don't know if you remember from my email to you guys, but for everybody else, I have quadriplegia from a spinal cord injury, but 5 years ago. But 3 months ago, right when I started taking Remag, it's funny, those two lined up. And I'm not saying that's the fault of it, but I have pretty severe osteoporosis, and I have 3 fractures in my right knee. So it's been 3 months I've been on Remag. I'm taking 3 teaspoons, teaspoon and a half of Remite, and I've also, for the last month at least, I've been putting on about 200 milligrams of Remag on both legs topically. And then I've been I react strongly to dairy, even in small amounts, so I found a emu oil from Australia, Walkabout emu oil. It's super high in vitamin K2, so I've been taking that instead of the butter oil stuff. So I know I'm severely deficient, and I know some of it's a matter of time. But when I took a look at and I seem to be so reactive to everything. I mean, I'm still reacting when I take Remag. Sometimes things loosen up and I feel better, and then other times I take it and things tighten up and I feel awful for an hour or so. So I know I'm at the beginning still, but I'm starting to wonder. It's like, God, maybe I should take the Recalcia, and maybe I have to suffer through like I did with the Remag. Because one of the other things that happened recently that's got me thinking about this again is about a month, well, even less than a month ago, I've got pretty wide spacing between my last 2 teeth and my upper palate, and on both sides, right and left. I get all kinds of food caught in there. Well, I just noticed about 3 weeks ago that space has just recently widened. And so, between the knee and that, it's like, oh my God, I got to
Well,
stop.
Michael, what about taking the Recalcia and putting the liquid on topically? Starting there.
I'm open to that, yeah.
I think that might, it gives you another option for taking it. But so I'll say that. But also, are you taking the Realign?
I just started it a week ago.
But, you know, the Realign has the 2 sulfur-based amino acids, so you have to watch out for that.
I know. I wanted to ask you about that, too, but things are so complicated. Yeah. I don't want to take up too much time today.
Well, yeah, you'll have to be real careful with that. You know, maybe just take one capsule every couple of days.
Yeah.
Okay. So
what about,
topical recalcia. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, what do you think about maybe I shoot, you know, when I did trial it a month ago, I took a teaspoon a day. But I was thinking, well, maybe I should do like a half teaspoon a day for a while and just see how that goes, because that's not all that much.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that would be very good to try. The thing about the recalcia, you have to remember, it's an ionized form of the calcium, so it's going to work at the lower doses, you know, that's for sure. Now, we're coming up to the top of the hour. Do you have any more questions, or will we let you go now?
I do, just a little bit to add on to that, so yeah.
Okay, so you stay on. Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Stay on, Michael, and we'll be back. This is Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. We'll be right back.
Hour 2 of Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean, along with host Ginny Gunther, after this brief station break. You can also get updates and resources online by visiting drcarolyndean.com.
AchieveRadio.com.
You can climb floors and then worlds show up. You can go downstairs and worlds disappear. You can go downstairs up on the rooftop, and you open the door and take a step, and you go, I'm on the rooftop. Wait a minute, I better pay attention. So that becomes a fun thing. So that's why we have to come back and say this: relax and allow, soften it up, get your foot off the gas, don't slam on the brakes, just let it coast where you want it to go. Soft, be easy about all this, and stop making a great big huge thing out of great big nothingnesses, because the nothingnesses are serving you very well. You like this blissful place of not caring, because now you care so much about everything that you've got yourself in a position where you don't really care about anything. Good. It's wonderful. Thank you. We are happily, easily ready for more. And your
I don't think I've ever told you to do this, but
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AchieveRadio.
And let them cool off. And then remember, you're not throwing them off.
Here we go now. Go to the Carolyn. Here we go now. Here we go now. The wellness scene with Dr. D. Here we go now. Here we go now. Go to the Carolyn. The wellness scene with Dr. D.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Hour 2, Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com, and we're joined again by Michael calling from Colorado and Carolyn in a conversation from the previous hour. Go ahead, please, everybody.
Okay, Michael, what's your last question?
Well, since I seem to be so reactive just about everything,
Yeah.
do you ever see people have like temporary reactions to starting to add more calcium to their regimen?
I haven't seen it with calcium yet or so far. What about you, Ginny? Has customer service had calcium reactions?
Not really. No, I don't really
No.
even remember anything like that, Carolyn, honestly, because it's just so prevalent in food. I mean, it's in so much dairy, but it's also in so many vegetables, and It's in a lot of products. I'm surprised how much calcium is blended into a lot of different vitamins and supplements, even if they don't need it. It's incredible. Yeah, so available.
And you obviously need it for your bones, Michael, but you just go with what we say about Remag and Remite when people think that it's stirring them up too much. You just go real slow. Cutting back to even a quarter teaspoon. And see, the thing is, when your body is under so much stress, it's hyper vigilant, and anything it takes in, you can react to, and not know if the reaction is protective or it's something that's attacking you. So you just have to go really slow. That's the only advice I can give.
Yeah. And do you ever see people, I know I've read, with people who have Lyme and other types of biofilm pathogens in their gut, that I've read that the part of what makes up the biofilm is some of the basic minerals that we need. Have you had any evidence of that? That we're kind of feeding the pathogens if somebody's got
No, that's just no. I think that's a terrible way of looking at what's going on in the body. And what's beautiful about our minerals is they don't require carriers. They start being absorbed right in your mouth. They're absorbed through the esophagus and the stomach. So, they're not going to make it anywhere where there are, quote, biofilms. And the whole biofilm business, you have to look at the dehydration that people put themselves under. When you're hydrated, when you work on your yeast overgrowth, I think it's the yeast toxins that get in the way of these biofilms. But I forget where I wrote about biofilms. It was a blog, something like Blasting the Biofilm. So you can Google my name and biofilm and see what I say about it, because I get so frustrated when people come up with, more and more, quote, evidence that we're all going to die because of these things. And it's not true. It's just such negativity. But anyway, I'm on a downward spiral rant here, and I'm going to stop.
Okay. I've got some more questions around the yeast overgrowth, but I think I'll email you about that.
Okay, yeah, that'd be better. Yeah. Okay?
Oh, one real quick logistical thing. When I sent in an email on Tuesday last week, and I got the automatic response, but if I don't hear from anybody else in a couple days, should I just resend, or sometimes things get busy, so just wait, or?
Yeah, just resend. Sometimes things go awry, but usually, I think Jenny will tell you if we're back with people, within 36 hours usually, right, Jenny?
Oh, yeah, it's usually faster than that. We have 24-hour email support.
That's pretty much what I've seen, so I just wanted to check. Okay.
So if something didn't come through right away, just shoot us again, because it might have gotten kerfuffled in the system.
Okay, great. Thanks.
And don't be discouraged, Michael. You know that you're on the right track, getting your minerals in place, and it's just going to take some time in the beginning to get everything sorted out. But we'll stand by you. Okay.
Okay, I really appreciate it.
Okay, we got your forehead. See you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, excellent. All right, let's see. Let's go to area code 772, Stuart, Florida. You're on the line with Dr. Dean, Stuart, Florida. If you can state your name and then your question or comment.
Hi, Dr. Dean. This is Charlotte again, your magnesium stouter. You would not believe, in the last 2 weeks, even the nurses and the doctors in the doctor's office were listening to everything that I was saying about you. And then everybody had a piece of pencil and paper out, and they were there writing everything down. And I was going into RNA drops, all of it. And then I went to Home Depot, and this guy was talking about arrhythmias. And I said, don't forget the magnesium. And there were like 4 guys that worked there. And then we had a whole discussion, and out comes the pencil and paper, and the guy goes, okay, Dan, you write it down, and I'll copy it off you later. And I was impressed. This 50-year-old man knew about your book, knew about the magnesium, and he said, you got to have zinc too. And then I told him I said, well, how come you're not taking the Remag? He goes, well, that's a liquid, and I don't know how to take it. I'm there, yeah, but they have support on the email. You just have to call them, and they'll help you through it. He was. I'm telling you, I was really impressed that he knew all that, and it's like amazing how thirsty people are for knowledge. Especially when I saw the people and the nurses and doctors, the nurses and receptionists peeking over the thing and listening. I'm like, see, they're not getting anywhere with doctors either. So that was really enlightening. My question for you is, what would you do if you felt like you were having a heart attack? What would you let them do to you in the hospital? I was reading one book, and the doctor said to get magnesium chloride and a vial of heparin to prepare yourself if you're having a heart attack that you're not going to get good care at the hospital, so that you should have this little emergency packet of magnesium chloride, D-ribose, and heparin. And
the thing is, Charlotte, it sounds to me like, we should walk around being afraid of having a heart attack. And, I know what you're saying, but, Remag is magnesium chloride, so if you've got your Remag dose right there, if you're saturated with Remag, heaven forbid that you should ever have a heart attack. But, it reminds me of people who are being told now, to keep your opioid antidote with you. We're just being put into this frenzy of fear about, you're all going to fall over dead of a heart attack.
Well, I've had friends that go to the hospital, and I'm there like, oh my gosh, I'm there. I should know what to do if you have to be rushed to the hospital. The thing about having a heart attack is a lot of the hospitals now are putting up magnesium drips. And, if you have the presence of mind to say to the doctor, I want magnesium, they have magnesium there. When you say that, what would I let them do? I would let them save my life. And then when they save your life, and they can do that, they can keep you alive. And then you get everybody around you to bring in your Remag cream and do all that. But they put stents in a friend of mine, and it's been a nightmare. They put medicated stents in him, and it's just been an absolute nightmare. So I don't know if I know that, and I know, but you have to sign. Somebody has to sign to have them do surgery and put in stents and all that. But Charlotte, my hands are tied. I can't even really talk about this on the radio because you're going real medical on me here. I forgot. Right. I forgot. I'm sorry. I was just wondering. I always like to ask doctors, what would you let a doctor do to you if you wound up in the hospital, because it's so scary. And seriously, just say to yourself, I'd let the doctor save my life, and then I would try to balance out if they gave me things that weren't that great for me. Right. You cannot be in charge of saving your own life when you're in such a state. It's like putting too much
more, too much more responsibility on you. But you have to know that, whatever they do, surgeries, drugs, all that, you can work it out of your system. You can detox it out. So, we can't keep scaring people about going to hospital, because people will avoid hospitals when they really need to go there and get something done.
That's a good point.
Save your life first. It's like I say with colonoscopies. You go to someone who's good with colonoscopies, and they can really save you a lot of grief down the road. Do things that make sense and have them done by people who have the expertise. Okay?
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you for all your products and all your knowledge. And I'm hoping that I can get off thyroid medications. I've only been on the RNA, the Remag, Remite. I think I have every product, and I ordered like 15 of your little RNA drops. I'm going to give them to everybody. I just got them today. And I love how they're packaged in the purple paper. It's so cute. That is so adorable. That is really, really nice. So I'm hoping I can get off thyroid meds, that it will kick in, and that I can. How do you know when you're? How do you know when it's time? I guess the blood test. I guess you get the next time you go to the blood test.
But Charlotte, aren't you a nurse? Aren't you an RN?
Oh no.
Oh, you're not.
No.
Oh, you sound so much. Okay, you sound like one. You sound like you know a lot. Well, I said it earlier in the program. You can look at your TSH, but you notice your hands and feet getting warmer, and you feel a little more active and sped up.
I've noticed that already. My feet are. I noticed that the other night instead.
Charlotte, you cannot stop talking. You are already activated. You should go and get your thyroid tested. Your thyroid is kicked in, girl.
You are totally right. I have been and I've been in such a good mood. It's crazy. It's like I'm like super happy every day. It's like, man, this is like a happy drug or something. Maybe that's the RNA drops. I don't know. But it's everything that you have is working, and I've been telling everybody about it. So I think I have. I bought like 8 magnesium books off Amazon, and I've been giving them out right and left. And the one man in the doctor's office, "You're going to give this to me?" And I said, "Yes, you really need it. Take it home and study it."
Oh, you're wonderful. Okay, my dear, well, keep us posted.
Okay.
And yes,
I will.
Go get your TSH thyroid tested. You can read a little bit more on it in my Remite book, just to know what to ask for and what's going on. But yeah, I can hear that your thyroid has kicked in.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, hon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, excellent. What a great animated caller. Okay, let's go to area code 808. That's the great state of Hawaii, to talk with Dr. Carolyn Dean this evening. Give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Hello, this is Ku'ule. I've called before, and I wanted to respond to Charlotte's call of what to do when you're having a heart attack, because that happened to me in January, where I woke up with horrible pain, sharp pains in my heart, and it got increasingly bad over the next 4 hours. So I called my doctor's office. They said take a nitro pill, but those things, I get really, really sick with them and then have to go to the hospital. So I promised my doctor I would go into to the ER, but then I remembered other callers saying they took Remag on the way to the hospital when that happened, and things were fine. Well, I gulped down some Remag. Half an hour later, the pain had subsided. An hour later, I went out and did my regular exercise in the pool, did some errands and so forth. My doctor's office kept calling saying, "You have to go into ER. You have to go in." And I said, "I feel fine." But about, 4 hours later, I went in because then I'd finished doing everything. And they said, "Oh, you're fine." And I said, "I was telling you that." And they said, "What did you do?" And I told them. And they said, "Oh, really?" So I told them, Remag, put it on your list.
Oh, that's awesome. Good. Yes, and you're right. I mean, again, we can't really talk about medical things like that, but a lot of our customers have said that they'll feel a pain, and we don't know what the pain was. Was it a heart attack? Was it heartburn? Was it a muscle? But they'll take the Remag, and they'll say the pain goes away. But I do think people should go in and get checked out. We're not going to tell people we're treating heart attack. But, yeah, that's
right.
Great. Good for you. Oh.
I know what you can't say, so I thought I'd give a call.
Yeah, thanks. Good for you. Thanks, Kool-Aid. Thank you so much for calling in.
You're welcome. Aloha to both of you. Bye-bye.
Aloha.
That's awesome. Yes, because, I was everywhere you go, everywhere you turn, there's public safety billboards everywhere saying, if you think this is happening to you, you're having a heart attack. And even if you do have like a little pull in your chest, or, maybe you're nauseated after you eat, and then you've got a pull in your chest, or maybe your left arm falls asleep. And, everybody's mind is now programmed to think they're having a heart attack. And I'm not saying they are or aren't. I'm just like you, Carol. I'm just saying, there's just weird stuff that happens every once in a while, and you feel weird, and, knock down some Remag. But if you are, you've got to go to the hospital. And when you do, you walk in and you tell them you're having a heart attack. It doesn't matter if there's what's going on in that ER. You are the priority, and they will save your life. You're absolutely right. They will save it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very good. All right, let's get to questions coming in from the chat and everything, Carolyn, and then let's do our wonderful customer testimonial. We've had some great callers tonight. Thank you, everybody, for participating. But let's get to a couple of these questions, and then we'll do this great testimonial teaching case that you have here. Shanti typed in, Dear Dr. Dean, thank you for all your wonderful work. I want to know, what is the eye cell? Is it a bacteria cell of animal origin? Once we take the RNA drops, we can never eliminate the eye cell from our DNA. Are there any biological, either animal or human elements involved? What is the eye cell?
Yikes. Gosh, Bob, are you able to answer that question? No? Do you want to answer the question?
I can answer. I'll answer it.
Okay.
Sure. There's nothing bacterian or animal origin or any. You're not being mutated in any way. That's all very fascinating, but it's just not at the level we're at. Dr. Dean is a natural health doctor. We believe in living things. We believe in the imperative of life, and that life has an impulse for itself, and that life begets life. And so all of our products are living products. All of our vitamins come from whole foods. All of our minerals come from very living, animated mineral forms. And RNA drops are a very animated and alive biological sugar, is the best way to talk about it. It's a configuration of carbons. These carbons are harvested through a barley germination process, and they are alive. And so what's going to happen is when you use the RNA drops, there is access at a cellular level. Dr. Bruce Lipton has a great video that shows exactly what happens when a biologically available, meaning that it does not have to be digested, just like our minerals. The RNA drops do not have to be digested. When that ribose or that sugar form goes in and hits a cell, the cell receptors, the sugar receptors are on the outside of the cell, and it just opens up the cells to unlimited possibilities. And there are tons of amino acids in the RNA drops as well. Again, being harvested from a germinated barley product, this process. So you're combining very available, biologically compatible sugars at a cellular level that don't need to be digested with amino acids, and that is having a direct and immediate impact on your RNA, which then ultimately is being translated into DNA, which is being translated into life. So they are an incredible formula for that purpose at that level. And then also they have a harmonic that goes with them. They have a resonance to them. We're on the 142nd generation. That means that every generation that's carried forward before is present in the previous generation, and that resonance has an effect on your force field, on your overall energy field, and there are adjustments that are made there too. Usually what we expect from energy medicine is a breakthrough or some kind of a awareness, a shift, a aha, a perspective change, a lightness, a bliss factor that comes into the mind or just your overall field. And so that's the RNA drops. But no, that's they're very sweet and precious and very innocent. Thank you.
Ginny, what's the eye cell?
The eye cell is a unique form that has been discovered in the process of creating the RNA drops. I think that eye cell is the energy component of the RNA drops that's actually visible to the human eye. And whereas a lot of times with energy things and energy forms, they're at a quantum level and this and that, and they're very difficult to recognize and register, the eye cell itself seems to be available to be seen by the human eye through a microscope, of course. That's what's been reported to me.
Right. When the D cell, which was the precursor, mute yourself, Bob, there's feedback. When the D cell, which was a precursor to the I cell, when Bob and I met the gentleman who's making D cells from grains, it was this unique cell with a light in it that was formed. And at a certain point, either his predecessors, one of the people who was making these D cell along the way, their information was taken and studied, and it was being looked at as sort of a new life form, an energy cell. And I don't know what became of that research. As most good things, it was covered up. So what we'll be doing over time is doing research on this cell. So far, when we've sent the RNA drops to the lab for testing, we test as the FDA requires for everything to make sure it's safe and pure. But they really can't tell us. They say it's very unique. They've never seen anything like it. So we're going to have to probably develop instruments to be able to see what we really have. What we do know is it's safe and pure, and it seems to be having profound effects on people. So we just continue in that vein with it. We're all using it. We're all benefiting by it, and we're offering it to people so that they can also benefit. So we'll keep you posted. Okay, Ginny?
Okay, sounds great. Let's go to the testimonial.
Right. This 70-year-old gentleman, he said, Remag and Remite completely eliminated my very severe AFib. Fantastic. It has not, however, eliminated my PVCs, that's premature ventricular contractions, which are often maybe 20 to 30 per minute. My RBC level is 4.5 on 2 to 3 teaspoons of Remag per day, so I increased Remag to about 6 teaspoons per day. An RBC retest showed my magnesium level only went up to 4.6. I have tried using even more Remag, but at more than 6, I get the laxative effect. What am I doing wrong? How can I get my numbers up? So, of course, I was intrigued. I really like these types of questions because I can learn from them. So he's 5'11", 175 pounds, which is good. Been using the minerals and Restructure for 6 to 7 months. So I said, well, it took me personally 1.5 years to get rid of my heart palpitations, which were actually PVCs. I would drop every third heartbeat. So it might be timing since it's working for the AFib. So he's only been on it 7 months. He says, I also use 4 teaspoons of Remag lotion, 1/4 teaspoon Himalayan salt, 1 1/3 of Remite, and a scoop of Restructure 5 times a week, and drinks plenty of water. So what was my answer there? Not enough of the other minerals in Remite. Since you are on so much Remag, so if he's doing 6 of Remag, he probably needs 3 of Remite. So there's the imbalance there. The other important heart mineral that you should look at is potassium. You will get some potassium in the extra Remite, but you should be making potassium broth and drinking 2 cups a day instead of 2 of your cups of water. And the potassium broth recipe is in the Remite booklet. Also in the Remite booklet, you'll read about recalcia. And I said I'd personally make sure I was getting 600 milligrams of calcium in the diet, and if not, from recalcia. Now, what I also looked up Restructure, and we don't really talk about this enough, but there's 135 milligrams per serving of calcium in Restructure. So if you're taking 2 scoops, there's 270 milligrams of calcium in your Restructure. So that's awesome. Then he went into this whole litany of supplements he was on, and I'm not going to mention them all, but I said, I'm sorry, but I personally think that, well, maybe I'll mention them. CoQ10, curcumin, N-acetylcysteine, L-carnitine, some cardio covers, some super ubiquitol are overkill. And listen to this, folks. This is really important. You are putting all these nutrient cofactors into your body and forcing biochemical reactions that your body may not need and can throw you off balance. I'll take a leap here, but I may be wrong. If you were taking most of these things before the complement formulas, they weren't working. I really think that my supplement blog list is enough for most people, and it's all that I take. And I said the digestive enzymes are okay to take, although I haven't found they work that well. I'm still trying to find a good digestive supplement. So you go to my Dr. Dean supplement recommendations, and that's the list I think everybody can use. Otherwise, when you're taking all these things based on some, long marketing preamble before they tell you, you can get 3 for the price of 2.5, you're just buying the hype. And if you've been taking this whole list of supplements for more than 3 months and you still have symptoms, then it's not working. And it distracts the body from doing what it should be doing. It really does distract the body by you trying to force these other reactions. So then he talked about all his surgeries, infected gallbladder surgery, open heart surgery after heart attack, and all kinds of problems with side effects from surgery, burst appendix, all, angiograms on blood thinners and drugs. So I said, wow, your body really put up with a lot before it knocked out your magnesium and put you into arrhythmia. The drug they put him on is an iodine drug that can cause mineral imbalance with too much iodine and damage the thyroid. All that intervention was bound to cause yeast overgrowth, so that's another avenue I would explore. And you can find my yeast book with protocols at Dr. Carolyn Dean Live. So as you can tell, I've written back to this person, and then I pulled his email in my answers for the show today. And then he said, I was hospitalized with breathing difficulties. They determined it was caused by zero thyroid function as a result of the iodine arrhythmia drug that killed his thyroid. And I said, dang, like I said above. I never read ahead. I just answer as I come to it. So, yeah, his arrhythmia drug killed his thyroid. And then he developed ventricular tachycardia, was put on beta blockers, and told to do ablations. Did research because I had so much trouble caused by catheters in my heart in the past, I didn't want to do an ablation. Then I discovered Dr. Dean and Remag. I started Remag, and the AFib immediately started decreasing. Within 6 weeks, AFib was completely gone, and I've been AFib free for 6 months, and of course that's amazing. So then he's back to the PVCs. at first it worked, and now it doesn't seem to be. So I said I would personally increase Remite, start potassium bras, treat yeast overgrowth. And I said, you've got it beat. Of course, I can't recommend these things for an individual. It's what I would do for myself. And he says, the laxative effect, and I said, understood. It's hard to say why your blood levels are still low, but I think the Remite and potassium will turn that around. And then he said he'd had his ejection fraction had dropped 3 years ago. And then, yes, he did some stem cell treatment that helped. And I thought that was great. And he said his electrophysiologist was at first skeptical that Remag would help. He's now sincerely impressed with my Remag results and wrote down Dr. Dean's information. Then he's talking about high blood pressure, his whole life, currently taking furosemide and potassium and levothyroxine and lisinopril and verapamil. And with these medications and the Remag, my blood pressure runs around 110/65. And, of course, I say, dang, furosemide, that's why your magnesium isn't coming up. It's such a strong diuretic that it drains potassium and magnesium. They give you potassium but not magnesium, and the potassium that they give is probably not being properly absorbed. Sheesh, what to do? Do you really need the furosemide? No, I shouldn't be saying this to someone because it's like I'm being their doctor, but would I keep taking the furosemide and the 2 other blood pressure drugs if my blood pressure was 110/65? So, I just said go to your doctor, see about weaning off the meds, which are draining your magnesium and keeping your electrolytes out of balance so that you have the PVCs. And I said get your thyroid checked. He's on a thyroid medication. And then he's a very has high-pressure hobbies, very intense workouts, his type of job that he loves, but he sounds like he's very intense. And I said, wow, there's the adrenaline, which is another magnesium burn. So that's, summation. It's the imbalance of the other minerals, and he can get that under control. So that's that story, and I thought it was very interesting because when people say that they're doing high amounts of Remag and it's they're wondering why their blood levels aren't coming up or it's not working, there are reasons. There are always reasons, and this gentleman is doing extremely well. Even though he's had so much medical intervention, he's still on medications, and I imagine when you look at someone with the history he's had, the doctors don't want to take him off his meds. They really do look at these drugs as if they're preventative, and they have no idea that they have their side effects. I mean, look at this antiarrhythmia drug with the iodine component that killed his thyroid. So that was a great story. I'll go and ask Ginny now if she wants to know anything more about this, or if that's enough. I do have a really good copper question that I want to do before the end of the show, but I'll go over to Ginny and see if there's any more phone calls or if she has anything to add.
We do have some things coming through on the chat line. Our phone calls are all caught up, and so I just want to make sure I understand the primary thing that was impinging on this guy, as far as minerals was concerned, was this diuretic that he's taking, right?
Yeah, diuretic and 2 blood pressure medications that are going to be draining his all 3 of them. But this furosemide diuretic, it just kills your potassium and magnesium, but they never replace magnesium.
Right. Okay, very good. Yes, I thought we have a lot of people who take diuretics, so I think that's just a good heads up that maybe we should start asking that when people, experience these kinds of things, because it comes up quite a bit. Okay.
Well, actually, let me do a follow-up.
Okay.
Dana, D-A-N-A, he's in the REMAG book. He had to be on IV magnesium for years, and finally he was getting infections and clots and everything. He switched to REMAG, and he did great on it for a couple of years. And then it turned out that he never stopped his proton pump inhibitor, his heartburn drug, probably Prilosec or something like that. And so his blood levels his magnesium blood levels would continue to drop, when he had extra stress or whatever. And after 4 years after I told him, he got off his proton pump inhibitor, and his magnesium levels went to normal. So this guy ended up on IV magnesium for years, just always fearful for his very life. REMAG helped him out of it, but then he kept taking the proton pump inhibitor. And I guess finally, I think his doctor finally said, well, why don't you try stopping this? And this is a drug that has an FDA warning on it that it causes magnesium deficiency. So he came off it, and his magnesium went to normal. He was just infinitely sensitive to this drug killing his magnesium. So, these drugs are just unbelievable. They're just unbelievable.
Yeah. Okay. Jeez. Okay. Nan types in, and on the chat line it says, my friend had fabulous results with leg cramps and REMAG. One day he took 3 teaspoons but still had a cramp. I asked if he took it in salt water, and he said no, he forgot. He took it with the salt, and voila, no leg cramps. Mm-hmm. Very cool, man. Excellent testimonial. Thank you so much. Marvy's typing in. Hello, Marv. For the last 2 weeks, I've been getting a pain in my throat, swallowing. So I went to the doctor and had some tests done and was informed that there was a small nodule there, nothing to worry about. 5 days ago, I began feeling extremely fatigued. I'm still taking REMAG and Remind and Realign. I want to know if the Realign will help me with the extreme fatigue. I'm taking 1 capsule daily. I received my restriction today, and I'm positive I will have a good night's sleep. To a good night go-to-bed snack with almond milk in it. Yes, I love it.
Well, I don't know what we can say. If you've got a nodule in your throat, does that mean a thyroid nodule? Does it mean a nodule on your vocal cords? I have no idea. I don't. Realign is a detoxifier and a B vitamin. It's not our go-to fatigue remedy. REMAG is, but, I'm not going to tell you to avoid looking into this nodule business and finding out what that is. If you're worried about it, are you worried about a nodule in your throat, and is that stressing you and making you fatigued? I have no idea what exactly to say to you, but it's getting very medical when you're asking us about that.
Okay, very good. All right, Mateo types in, greetings, Ginny and Carolyn. I wanted to ask a question for my mom. She's been on a ketogenic diet since February of 2018, but she still needs to take high amounts of insulin to control her blood sugar. Even during extended fasting, her blood sugar will stay in the 300 to 400 range and goes up by 100 when she exercises. Any idea how long her insulin sensitivity will be before it goes back to normal? High blood sugar causes glycation, and taking lots of insulin results in insulin resistance. Are there any supplements or other things she should be using to get her blood sugar under control aside from her insulin? Thank you.
Well, that's very medical, Mateo. But what we're seeing from Dr. Jason Fung and the dietdoctor.com people what really helps with the diabetics is the intermittent fasting, even more than the keto diet. So it's going to be important for your mother to find a doctor who is working with the ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting. I wouldn't be able to tell your mother what to do, and I say that in either the webinar or our book on weight loss, where I talk about keto and fasting, that this is not a diet that I'm saying can treat diabetes. You have to have supervision. So I'm sorry, that's all I can say. But thank you, Mateo, for being such a good follower and a customer and a lover of Bob.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, a lover of Bob. That's always very important. Absolutely. Everybody loves Bob. Okay, wonderful. Rona typed in from Massachusetts and asked, how do you lower aldosterone with adrenal hyperfunction? Symptoms of high aldosterone are consistently occurring for me daily. It starts to rise around 1 p.m.
Yeah, aldosterone, that's a kidney. Okay, aldosterone, the main mineral corticoid hormone, is a steroid hormone produced by the adrenal cortex and the adrenal gland, essential for sodium conservation in the kidney, salivary glands, sweat glands, and colon. I don't know that much about aldosterone. I'm sorry. I don't think I've written about it. Effect of aldosterone on the metabolism of magnesium. Aldosterone influences magnesium as well as potassium. So no, I don't, and I don't think I've written about aldosterone in my Magnesium Miracle book. I'm just looking it up right now. Can you hear my little typey? No, I'm not able to help you there, Rona, I'm afraid. Certainly magnesium helps everything, and there's a balance. It's a mineral corticoid, so I'd wonder about your adrenal balance if that's happening. But I can't help you, especially on this, in this form.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. All righty. You know what I say, too, in customer service, and is that any time you have a chronic condition or an imbalance in your body, the body is stressed out, and it is going to compensate by consuming more energy in order to try to balance itself against whatever you've got going on. And there is just no harm in using REMAG in that circumstances. Everybody who has any level of health should be using REMAG every single day. I just, right, Carolyn? I mean, it's, yes, you want the specifics of a condition like, aldosterone. I understand that completely. But also just know that even if the answer is, like somebody sent me an email about ALS, Carolyn, and, there's no definitive, correlation between magnesium deficiency and ALS per se. You can't, document that and all this. But the entire body is stressed to the max, and it should have magnesium. I mean, I know you know that because you were the one who taught me that. Everybody needs it.
I know, and we've said it and brought it up a couple times, even in this show, that people get feeling better, and then they cut back on their essentials. And what we're doing with our RNA reset and our website and everything is we're trying to give you the minimal amount of nutrients for the maximal effect. We're not going to be one of these companies that has 100 products and hoping you'll buy 20 of them. We always are going to keep it down to the very best, the very highest quality of a handful of things that you can depend on and that all work. And they are nutrients that you will take every day. I remember having a cupboard full of supplements. I just put together my little vitamin baggies to take on my next trip. And I was thinking of how I used to take me an hour many years ago lining up my 25 bottles and sorting them all out. And now what? I have 4 bottles. It's a snap. 4 bottles of capsules and tablets, and as well as my Remag and Remite. And I don't do much Recalcia anymore because I eat my keto cheese. So you can make it easy on yourself just by taking the things that work and being consistent with them. We saw today how with one of our callers, was it Marion, who, well, my TSH was good and now it's bad. Well, what changed? Well, I'm taking less of my minerals. Okay, well, there's what happened. So a lot of it is common sense, but what's happening with some people is they'll just think, well, I'm healed, I'm cured, I don't need any more, or I need less of these minerals. But no, you have to keep up with at least the daily amount, or what do we call it? On our bottle we have a name for it, maintenance amount. But if you still have symptoms, you're not in maintenance. You're in saturation mode. That's what we call it. Okay, Ginny, will I go to this question, this copper question?
Yes, copper question, please. Absolutely.
Okay, so this woman calls, emails and says, I have an acquaintance who said that Remite gave her copper toxicity and to be careful taking it due to adrenal insufficiency. And some Dr. Lamb had an article about copper toxicity. And our customer says that she told her acquaintance, well, I highly doubt it, maybe taking a pill form of copper, but not Remite. Any information is greatly appreciated. I said, yes, you're right. Thank you. The copper in Remite and the dosage is specifically designed to be bioavailable and low enough that it's just going to do its job in the cells. Remite also has relatively more zinc than copper to help push toxic copper out of the body. If anything, the Remite copper will help dump the copper compounds that are toxic and that jam up receptor sites. The other complement formulas help create ceruloplasm to help bind up rogue copper. I said this particular blog explains this in more detail, and this is an important blog about ceruloplasm, which is the copper binder. The blog is called Magnesium Citrate and Ceruloplasm Clarification. And I further say Remite has 0.3 milligrams of copper. The RDA is 1 milligram. The safe upper limit is 10 to 12 milligrams. Remite has 3 milligrams of zinc. The RDA of zinc is 8 to 10 milligrams. So this customer of ours said, I relayed the information that you gave me to my friend. I've attached her responses. She and I were both floxed by Levaquin, so that's the fluoroquinolone poisoning. I took it in 2014, and it took me several years before connecting the dots because my doctor said my symptoms weren't from the antibiotic. Maybe Dr. Dean can shed some light, as I don't know how to respond to her acquaintance concerning someone who is in this situation of fluoroquinolones. And what the friend said about my response about you need a little copper that's bioavailable. It does help remove the other copper, and the Remite copper is so low. This friend says, I hope you look at the science behind copper imbalances and not trust just one doctor, me, who's promoting a product she makes and sells. Me. I agree we need magnesium like her Remag, but her Remite is very questionable for floxies. they even have these little, pet names for themselves. I mean, it's really sad that people have this poisoning and they get onto the forums and they try to help each other, but then they spread all this information about Remite being dangerous. Knowing that fluoroquinolones increase copper, which would make it unbound, should be factored in. Well, I'm saying our products make ceruloplasmin to bind up the copper, for Pete's sakes. It's a whole synergy that you have to look at, and which I did look at when creating these formulas, because we've known about copper toxicity for decades. So I wrote back to our customer, and I said, bean flocks does add another dimension to the picture. I realized early on that the fluoride drugs were likely binding magnesium and making it unavailable to the body. I think the people who are most hit took these fluoride drugs when they were already in a magnesium-depleted state and really require magnesium to recover. And I've written a lot about this. People can look. And I said, when a person is chronically ill with something like fluoride poisoning, they're looking for all the factors that can hurt or help. The Internet is rife with possibilities: iron overload, copper toxicity, genetic testing, including MTHFR, histamine intolerance, to name a few. I try to get people to step back from the complexity of details and start with Remag so that they can get saturated, get their 700 to 800 enzyme systems working properly to help detox and heal. Remite is also important to provide all the other minerals that can also be deficient, and to especially help support thyroid hormone production and the adrenals so they won't have to take synthetic thyroid hormones or adrenaline glandulars. Copper is needed for the thyroid and hundreds of other processes. To declare it the enemy is not a balanced position. Your friend may cynically say that I'm just trying to sell you something, but ask the question: if concerned doctors on the front line of these conditions don't intervene to create solutions, who will do it? Drug companies? The government? The FDA? Besides fluoroquinolone poisoning, think of Lyme disease, autism, and all the chronic diseases that are just treated with drugs. The people working to try to alleviate these conditions are the victims, their families, and a handful of concerned doctors. Again, can we count on the drug companies, the government, the FDA? No, of course not. They're committed to making the very drugs that are making us sick. Thankfully, we live in a capitalist society that allows innovators to make products and not rely on communist, socialist agendas that maintain the status quo. I don't agree with your friend, and I don't know if she read the blog where I talk about the need to produce more ceruloplasmin to bind the rogue copper. It's a dynamic that our genius body will sort out with the proper building blocks that include small amounts of bioavailable copper. And then my ceruloplasmin blog, I put it here. I won't go into it. I think you really all should go to that ceruloplasmin blog, magnesium citrate and ceruloplasmin in my name. And I was even going to look at this Dr. Lamb's article where he just completely terrifies people that, copper's bad, we've all got copper, don't take copper, it's causing all this poisoning. But the fact of the matter is the body needs some bioavailable copper. Fortunately, you can get that small amount of bioavailable copper from the Remite so that it's working to help your body, because what's copper needed for? Energy production, the endocrine system, the musculoskeletal system, the nervous system. So by making copper the enemy and, avoiding copper in all things and all supplements and all foods, then people are doing a disservice to themselves, and these practitioners who will run it up the flagpole, the horrors of copper, are really, they're certainly not helping people. So, there's a lot more to be said, but I know we're coming to the top of the hour. I just want people to be a little more circumspect about listening to someone who's just taking a very negative view of something, not giving you any solutions, and maybe it is there's the wimps and the energy vampires who are just get so either afraid of the negative information, or they'll just jump on someone because they're selling something and not listen to the reason or the information. So, Ginny, you have 1 minute or two to comment on that exposition.
Well, that is the reason why we love Dr. Dean so much, because she'll actually take the time to develop a thesis and to type it out clearly and succinctly for the benefit of people. Well, I have heard other people talk about how they deal with wimps and energy vampires, and they basically just delete them from their Facebook pages and their emails. They don't put any thought into responding to them. They think that they're just all there to harass them. But Carolyn takes such a different view. She really does try to get in and work with people to develop their awareness and to develop their perspective so that they can make informed choices. So once again, I applaud you, Carolyn, for your sincere care. I mean, you don't have to care. And by the way, we've been doing this for years. And if anybody should be tired of these arguments and all this harassing, it should be Carolyn, because she has to deal with this stuff every single day. And she's generous, she's willing, she's lovely, she's kind, she gets on there, and she really contends for the faith. She really contends for natural medicine, and she contends for people to have an opportunity to make good choices and to really benefit their body and to work with Mother Nature's design. And I think it's admirable. I really do. That's my rant.
Thank you, Ginny.
Thank you, Ginny.
I'm very proud of Dr. Dean.
Yes, well, you should be. She's an extraordinary woman. She really is. Yeah, I'm very honored to have her.
I was the first to notice it. I was the first to notice it, Ginny, 50, 60 years ago.
No, I was getting my brownie badges and my Girl Guide and Girl Ranger badges. I was badged up. I was. Okay, thank you, Ginny. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Right.
Very good.
Yes.
Bye, everybody. No show next week.
You, Ginny.
We'll be back soon. Bye, everybody.
No show next week.
Uh-oh.
You've been listening to Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Till next time, so long, and thanks for all the fish.
AchieveRadio.com.
Well, each human has that non-physical part, the source energy part, and that's the part that resonates with everyone.